The flow net is drawn for the seepage through the foundation of a water retaining structure. The second figure, which is drawn for calculating the seepage through the body of the earth dam. And here you can see the flow net is drawn to simulate the seepage through around the sheet pile wall. So from here also you can easily do the calculation that how much seepage will take place around the sheet pile wall. So here also the calculation will be same. Q is equal to K H NF by ND, and H will be the head difference, and then K will be the coefficient of permeability of soil, and you need to just calculate the number of, even you don't have to calculate, you have to just count. So you need to just count. Once you have the flow net, you can just count number of drops and number of flow channels. And earlier it was a tedious process because drawing of flownet is again a tedious process when you do the things manually. But now you have softwares and you can easily use these softwares to get the flownet. And after that, it's your job to do the calculation for seepage discharge or to do the calculation for. This is the same example that has been presented here um, that I explained to you. Now, in the same way, you can do the calculation for the uplift force using the flow net. So again, what you have to do, because you know that between the two consecutive line. Now, how I'm going to use the flow net to get the calculation on the for the uplift force? What I have to do? I have to just calculate the pore pressure at these locations. Like suppose if I say this is A, B, C, D, E, like that. So I should be able to get the pore water pressure at these points, UA, UB, UC, UD, and UE. So how I'm going to do that? You know that between the two consecutive equipotential line, the head loss is same. So whether you take this, whether you take this, the head loss is same. Delta H, delta H. These are the assumptions. With that assumption only you draw the flow net. So how I can get the value of delta H in my calculation? Whether it is here or it is here, or you take this channel or this channel. So whatever channel you select, whether you follow this channel or you follow this channel or you follow this channel, the delta H will be same. With that assumption only you draw the flow net. So how I'm going to get the value of delta H? Delta H is nothing but total head divided by number of drops. So total head I know. This is the difference between the upstream and the downstream water level. So from here also you can easily get the value of H, and number of drops you can just count from this diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, like that. And then you can get the value of delta H. So this is actually, this delta H represents the head loss between the two consecutive equipotential line. So suppose you have got head here. If you see on the upstream side, the head is 6.3. So this is in meter, but if you multiply this value with gamma W, you will get the pressure U at this point. So if you want to get the value of UA here on this side, so there are, how many drops are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 drops. So after 5 drops, after 5 drops, you are able to reach at point A. So how you are going to get the value of UA for pressure at, or the uplift pressure at point A, is the head H, which was acting on the upstream end, minus number of drops. So there are 5 drops, so 5 into delta H. So this way you will get the value of uplift pressure at A, and then at B also you can get in the same way. If you reach at point C after getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 drops, then you will reach at point C and you will get the value of U at C as H minus 6 into delta H, like that. It's very simple, and once you get all these values, it is easy to actually draw the uplift pressure force like this. So UA value will be here, somewhere it will be like this. You can graphically show this, and like this. So you can see from upstream to downstream side, when you go when you move from upstream to downstream side, the uplift pressure decreases. And if you know the base area, so it is shown in two-dimensional. Uh, so you know that the length of this structure will be 1 meter, and this is the base width B from here to here. So how you can get the force, uplift force, pressure? You can take the average. You can just take the average of this like this. So this is the average uplift pressure acting on the structure, and from this average, you can get average value of uplift force, which is nothing but U average into B into 1, like that. So this is the base area on which this average uplift pressure is acting, and you can get the uplift force. And then you, from the geometry of the structure and from the unit weight of the material which is used for this structure, you can get the weight. So weight for this structure, the weight will be volume into unit weight. So if it is concrete, it will be gamma C. So like that, you can easily do the calculation for the weight and also the calculation for the uplift force U, and then you can easily get the factor of safety value as W upon U. And then you can check whether it is more than 3 or not. So we take high factor of safety against uplift, so it should be ensured that it is more than 3. So like that, we do the calculation for the uplift force. You can see how I have used this flow net for the calculation of seepage discharge and force. And now I will explain to you how the factor of safety is calculated for soil boiling condition at the exit point. So here you can see I have shown the toe of the structure. So you can see here I have shown the toe of the structure. This is the downstream end of the structure, and you can see there is a this is the downstream water level, and the water which is coming from upstream to downstream like this. So the water is coming through the foundation of the structure like this, and then it is finally moving in the upward direction. And you know that if you use the concept of effective stress, it says sigma dash is equal to sigma minus U. And this is under static condition, so under hydrostatic condition. But when the flow is in the upward direction, you know that sigma dash is reduced further with the value I, Z, gamma, W. So the effective stress under flow condition, if I say that it is sigma dash minus IZ gamma W, which is where I is actually the applied hydraulic gradient, and Z is the depth at which you are actually measuring the value of effective stress, and gamma W is the unit weight of the water. Now, if you see here, if I take this, suppose I have drawn the flow net, and this is the flow field or that flow net. So how I'm going to calculate the value of exit gradient at this point, at the exit point? You know, these flow nets are drawn on a scale. So flow net is drawn using a scale. You know the meaning of scale, like I can assume 1 meter is equal to 10 centimeter or something like that, or 1 meter is equal to 1 centimeter. So 1 meter on ground will represent 1 centimeter on the graph paper. So like that, I can measure the length of the flow here, delta L, and also I can get the value of delta H, because you know that this is the equipotential line and this is the equipotential line. So between the two consecutive equipotential line, the head loss is delta H. So I can easily get the value of exit gradient I as delta S by L. So using the flow net, I can get the value of I. Now I need to check here. You know that if I see this equation, if you keep increasing I, then what will happen? If you keep increasing I, what will happen? A situation will arise when this effective stress becomes 0. Is it not? Because the total stress is equal to the value of I z gamma W, and when the value of I is increased, so the effective stress becomes 0, and this is the critical condition for when sigma dash effective stress becomes 0. This is the critical condition for soil boiling, and you need to understand this. We know the value of IC, critical hydraulic gradient. This is called critical hydraulic gradient because this leads to the value of hydraulic gradient at which the effective stress becomes zero is called critical hydraulic gradient. And this can be easily estimated using GIS. Using this equation, GS minus 1 upon 1 plus E. And you can get the derivation of this equation in any standard textbook. So for me, there are two parameters. One is applied hydraulic gradient that I can get from the flow net, and another is IC, critical hydraulic gradient, that can easily be obtained from this equation GS minus 1 upon 1 plus E, because we know the void ratio and specific gravity of the soil, so we can easily calculate the critical hydraulic gradient value. And we will never want that the value of I should reach this value of IC. If the value of I, which is applied, reaches to the value of IC, then the soil boiling condition the effective stress will become zero here at the downstream end, and the soil boiling condition will be achieved. And then it will be difficult to actually ensure the stability of the structure, because uh, huge amount of stress is generated at the downstream end. Suppose this is your dam. So there is a water on the upstream side. So it exerts a huge amount of hydrostatic pressure from this end, and it has a weight W. So the vector sum of this weight and pH is actually the resultant, and it causes huge amount of stress. If you just draw the stress distribution diagram, it will be minimum this on this side on the hill and maximum on the toe of the dam. So you can see a huge amount of stress is generated at the downstream end. And if there is a flow, if there is a flow from the upstream to downstream end like this, and if a situation is reached that I is equal to IC, then effective stress becomes zero. And you know that the shear strength of the soil is defined as tau is equal to C plus sigma dash tan phi dash. And suppose you ignore this, or if the material is a sand material, then for sand this C is zero. So finally the tau is C dash tan phi dash. And if this becomes zero, sigma dash, effective stress becomes zero, then the shear strength of the soil also becomes zero. So you can see the situation here. At the downstream end, there is a huge stress because of the weight and the hydrostatic pressure of the water. But then when this condition is achieved, the shear strength of the soil becomes zero. So the soil has no strength to take this much of stress. So finally what will happen? The dam will collapse and you will not be able to stop this collapse. So this condition is very critical, and that is the reason we take very high factor of safety against this condition. So I C upon I. So IC is the critical hydraulic gradient, and we ensure enough factor of safety. So it should be between 5 to 6, so that this condition is not at all perceived in any situation.